Joe Paterno got fired yesterday, and guess what? It was the right call. I know a lot of people are up in arms today saying, well, the media used him as a scapegoat. Joe Paterno was one of the most widely known figures in college football, maybe in all of sports. He's worldwide known, definitely nationwide known, and the fact that he's involved in this is why it was covered the way it was. No, he wasn't criminally involved. No, we know Jerry Sandusky is a disgusting human being and will be taken care of when he gets sent away. We know there was a lot of other people involved. But Joe Paterno was the face of that university, and there's no way that Penn State University could allow him to go out in front of 90,000 people this weekend and be carried off on people's shoulders and honored and cheered for. And these idiots at Penn State that were trashing the university and trashing stuff and saying he should coach one more game. Let me ask you this: if that little kid, that 10-year-old kid, was your brother or your son or your nephew or anybody in your family, how would you feel about watching Joe Paterno be carried off on somebody's shoulders? The fact that he didn't act more, I understand he wasn't the one. I know you look at the indictment and he's a very small part of it. I agree with that. All those other guys should not be part of the university either. But none of them have the fame and the notoriety that Joe Paterno does, and that's what makes this a bigger problem for Joe. Joe could have made this a non-story 10 years ago if he would have just followed up on that. If you hear something like this happens in your locker room, you go follow up. You find out the specifics. You don't say, "Well, I didn't really know exactly what happened, so I'm just going to tell. I'm going to tell Tim Curley, and then I'm going to let this go." Joe did not follow through on his integrity is supposed to be better than that. He's supposed to be a man of honor. He's supposed to be a guy who runs the university, and he's the face of the university. So the fact that he didn't find out the specifics, that's where he was at fault. You have to start somewhere. It's going to start with Joe Paterno. Guess what? I understand Jerry Sandusky is the criminal here, and we know that already. He's already been taken care of, and that will obviously go down further. But Joe Paterno had to be let go. He's not a scapegoat. He's getting what it was coming to him for not being more involved. He's in a position of power. He's in a position of authority, and that's his locker room. And when he found out this was going on, he should have taken care of it. He should have looked more into it. And I can't imagine him thinking any other way. He had a moral obligation as a human being to find out exactly what went on to every extent, not to just find out that this might have happened. You hear anything like that could have possibly happened, you have to find out exactly what it was. And I'm sorry if you think that the media is out to get him and things like that. Yeah, of course they are. Of course they're out to get him. He should not be allowed to be out on that field ever again representing Penn State University. I know he's been there for 45 years. I know he's a legend. But guess what? All that's been pretty much washed away at this point. And I just don't understand how you could think that he should be allowed to coach for another minute or represent that university for another second. The university should make a clean sweep. Anybody that was involved, the president's already gone. Those other guys are already out. And obviously Jerry Sandusky is going to get what he's going to get on the criminal side. Yeah, Joe Paterno was not criminally involved in this, but his moral obligation as a leader of young men was to find out exactly what happened in that locker room, and he failed miserably.